Ninerbot says, in my opinion, Wano was a whack arc. It was like Oda was locked in a dungeon and they had Kubo write it. Too many retcons, unresolved plots, and chosen one stuff. I think here's the biggest thing I'll say. The biggest thing I'll say is that I feel like a lot of the discussion around Wano that really annoys me in terms of like, was it a good arc? Was it blah, blah, blah? To me, a lot of that is that like, I feel like too much of it is going after the plot threads. So I think too many people are like, well, like it narrows the whole debate down to like, well, look at all of these plot threads, and then people are like, those plot threads aren't important, or this isn't important, etc. Basically, or like other arcs have unresolved plot threads, and then they like do some huge reach to somehow twist like some perfectly fine arc from the past, like Ennie's Lobby, into saying like, well, see, this had plot threads or something, and it's some bullshit or something. But the main point being that like, it's not about the plot threads. That's the most, I guess, surface level aspect of what you could talk about with Wano being incomplete. And that's not to go after you, Ninerbot, because that is a fair thing to talk about. But I could do a whole video breaking down, and I'm probably going to. I mean, I've just talked about it. I think the videos I'm going to talk about, I'm pretty much just going to avoid even talking about plot threads, because that's really not the crux of what I think is, what I personally felt the elements that were missing from Wano were. Because I think that that's a whole different conversation. I can talk about plot threads a little bit, because, yeah, you can go into it, and there are a shocking number of plot threads that are clearly either heavily implied to be narrative setups or clear, explicit, undeniable narrative setups that have then no payoff, right? They fall into those two categories. And that's a bulk of what happened in Wano that you could, talk about. But I think I can avoid talking about those entirely, because I think anytime you get into the plot threads discussion, it's just the wrong discussion to be having, because it just gets into too much like, is this nitpicking? Is this like wrong expectations? Blah, 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 blah. I think I can avoid that whole argument and just discuss certain things in Wano that I felt you can compare to any single other major One Piece arc. Like any other, like Arlong Park, Alabasta, Dressrosa, Skypiea, Thriller Bark, any other major One Piece arc, post-time skip included, Dressrosa, Whole Cake, whatever, and be like, this was missing this element that Oda normally executes really, really well, and he just chose not to do this here, chose not to do this here, chose not to do this here, because Wano's just filled with a million things like that. But we're not here to talk about Wano today.